Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to be continuing our missing character series, where we'll discuss their lore, their rules on the tabletop, and how they could translate to Total War Warhammer, with today's character being a fan favourite of many, Be'lakor, the Demon Prince of Undivided. So without further ado, let's begin. To better introduce this character to those who might not be aware of him, we'll read over his lore entry into his 8th edition specialized battle scroll. Be'lakor was the first mortal raised to the exalted rank of Demon Prince, though what sacrifices he made and what horrors he inflicted to do so are lost even to the oldest of tales. However, it was Be'lakor that drew the Chaos God's gaze. He somehow managed to intrigue all 4 of the Dark Brothers sufficiently that each granted him a portion of their godly might. This somehow proved a mistake. The Chaos Gods seldom share anything for long, and so it was with Be'lakor. As the first, and at that time the only Demon Prince, Be'lakor was an incomparable prize. Thus did the Chaos Gods war for control of Be'lakor's tainted soul, each one determined to force his brothers to relinquish their claim. As battle raged, each of the Chaos Gods offered Be'lakor even greater power, if he would simply consent to lead their armies to victory. Such a bargain was little to Be'lakor's liking, so he tricked each of the Chaos Gods into granting their proffered gifts, and then fled to the mortal world without fulfilling his parts of the bargains. Be'lakor arrived at a time rife with opportunity for one such as he. The great polar gates had collapsed, and magic coursed across the world. Demons had followed in the magic's wake, and Be'lakor wrested many of them to his will, forging an army to serve his own purpose, rather than those of the Chaos Gods. Thus did the Demon Prince conquer the primitive humans of the north, though many tribes came willingly to his service, for they had already pledged themselves to the Chaos Gods, and rightly saw their reflection in Be'lakor's dark majesty. He was a creature of living shadows, tangible only when he wished to be, a master of terror and illusion who feasted upon mortal fears. For many generations of the barbarians, Be'lakor reveled in his new station. He crushed races whose names are now long forgotten, and brought war upon the realms of the elves and the dwarfs. Few could withstand Be'lakor, for the stuff of chaos blew strong across the world, and it was his weapon and sustenance both. Cities fell beneath his wrath, their names erased from history, and their peoples trampled into dust. With each victory, Be'lakor ordered monuments raised in his glory. Thus were the toppled stones hewn into new shapes, thrones, statues, and skull-set monoliths, and they throbbed with the power of chaos. Winding stairs reached into the sky, the better for the Demon Prince to bask in the life-giving winds of magic, and wells were sunk deep into the ground, so that he may sup from the chaotic energies that had seeped into the bedrock. However, each conquest not only made Be'lakor more powerful, it also edged him closer to downfall, for even in rebellion, he unwittingly performed the Chaos God's bidding. Be'lakor had done much to spread the creed of chaos across the world. In time, the Demon Prince's mightiest followers drew the unblinking gaze of the Chaos Gods, and were raised to Demon Princehood themselves. This time, the Dark Brothers made no efforts to share their mortal prizes, nor was there any need, for there was no shortage of suitable candidates. In a comparative eye blink, Be'lakor became but one Demon Prince among many. Where he had once ruled without challenge, he now found himself beset by dozens of would-be usurpers. Worse, with each new Demon Prince who ascended, Be'lakor felt his own powers ebb, as the gifts bestowed upon him were stripped away and granted to more loyal servants. For long years, battle raged across the mortal lands Be'lakor had claimed, as the new Demon Princes sought out to carve their own territories. Yet none could establish dominance, not even Be'lakor, for all his wit and guile. Countless thousands of humans perished in the wars of the demon princes, yet out of this great evil, some good emerged. So many demonic legions had been drawn into this conflict that the realm of Ulthuan was not so beset as it might have been. And this allowed the elves the opportunity to marshal one last desperate attempt to stem the tides of chaos, a great vortex that would siphon magic from the world. The elves' great success was the demon prince's downfall. As magic faded from the world, the demon princes were drawn back to the realm of chaos. Be'lakor was the last to be banished, for his connection to the mortal plane was greater than any, but even he could not resist the vortex's pull. With a thin, screeching wail, the demon prince departed the mortal world. In the moment of Be'lakor's banishment, his monuments collapsed, the ruins swallowed by the hills as if they had never been. No trace of his dominion remained. For thousands of years, Be'lakor's essence drifted through the realms of chaos. He yearned to set foot upon the mortal world once more, and feigning repentance, beseeched the Chaos Gods to send him forth one more. Yet the Dark Brothers remembered all too well how Be'lakor had deceived them once, and had devised a suitable punishment. Thus, for the second time in his existence, Be'lakor had succeeded in uniting the Chaos Gods with a common goal, though he found the second occasion less to his liking than the first. Unlike other demons, Be'lakor would not be permitted to cross to the mortal world whenever the winds of magic blew strong. Instead, he would leave the realm of chaos only at the Dark God's wish. This was a boon they granted sparingly, and then only to crown a mortal as the ever-chosen of chaos, a ceremony which served to assure the celebrant of his god's favour, and torment Be'lakor with his fall from grace. Each time the coronation was concluded, Be'lakor was compelled to visit his rage upon the world as an advisor to the Ever-Chosen. Infused with unwanted subservice, Be'lakor led demonic armies at the command of this Ever-Chosen, only to be banished once more when his unwanted mortal liege was defeated. Yet once again Be'lakor proved his guile, and found ways to stretch forth his will upon the mortal world. In his times of formlessness, he whispered through the dreams of madmen and warlords, offering his services if they only would summon him into the mortal realm. Too often, such men accepted Be'lakor's promises, foolishly believing that they could control the demon prince for their own ends. Once given a gateway to the mortal world, invariably Be'lakor slew his liberator and seized the fool's followers as his own, yet such freedom seldom lasted long. Be'lakor's power was but a fraction of that which he commanded in ancient days, and his ambition overstripped his ability. Thus time after time, a mortal champion laid Be'lakor low, and sent the demon prince's wounded spirit back to the realms of chaos, there to plot another escape, or await the rise of the next Ever-Chosen. 12 times now has Be'lakor fulfilled his destiny as a Harbinger, each time attempting to escape his preordained fate, but ultimately meeting with failure. Now, as the hour of the 13th coronation draws near, Be'lakor is driven as never before to throw off his shackles. He is determined that this time, the demonic legions will not march at the whims of Archaon the Ever-Chosen, but in accordance with his own plan, whether the Chaos Gods wish it or no. Today's video was quite a heavy lore entry, and in truth, if we were to cover Be'lakor's full lore, we'd be here for at least an hour or two, but we'll get to a proper lore video eventually. Honestly, it's only a matter of time until we see the Demon Prince of Undivided as a playable character in the Total War Warhammer series. He is too much of an iconic character to leave out. But before anything, let's check out how he was on the tabletop. Baseline stat-wise, Be'lakor had a pretty decent stat line, Very high movement, weapon skill, decent strength and toughness values, high wounds, high initiative, and a decent attack rate too. Paired with the fact that this character at the time of 8th edition was a lore master of the Lore of Shadows, he was both very good at close combat and very good at spellcasting. He is one of the few characters which could be considered to be a perfect hybrid. As for special rules, Be'lakor has a decent amount of them, the generics being Terror, Unbreakable, Lore Master for the Lore of Shadows, and Fly. Be'lakor, like many characters associated with Chaos, generally has wings, and it would be a shame if this character wouldn't be able to fly. Right now, other characters such as Malagor are unable to do so, but it would be a shame if the Demon Prince of Undivided was unable to. Next we have Demonic Attacks, which basically gave him the magical attack special rule. This is already something available in the Total War Warhammer series, but for all the unique special rules we have as follows. The Dark Master. All enemies within 12 inches of Be'lakor suffer a -1 penalty to their leadership. I'd see this being implemented as a map-wide debuff, where all enemies fighting against Be'lakor's armies would suffer a negative to their leadership overall, unless they can defeat the Dark Prince of Undivided. Next we have Shadow Form. Be'lakor has a 4+ ward save. Furthermore, attacks that target Be'lakor in the shooting phase have a -2 to hit modifier. So, firstly, it would be a natural ward save, which makes perfect sense. And for the second part of his rule, he would be very resistant to melee missile damage. Yes, this is a tad overpowered, but we do have to take into account that this is the Demon Prince of Undivided. Next, we have Lord of Torment. This is very tabletop specific, but in short, as enemies broke, Be'lakor would have the chance of receiving additional power dice in the magic phase. These power dice were specific to him, so it could be something implemented in Total War Warhammer. Maybe as enemy armies, and specifically their units, start breaking in the battlefield, there could be an ever so slight chance, maybe 1 to 5%, that extra winds of magic would be generated for Be'lakor's army. This could be extremely overpowered with modifiers, if any modifiers should exist, so maybe this could be specific to Be'lakor himself as some sort of unique mechanic. Now, the Demon Prince of Undivided's magical items were nothing too impressive, more or less serving as quite generic items more than anything else, but then again, it was his special rules and his baseline stats which really made him shine on the tabletop. So with that, let's just skip directly to any possible mechanics and how he could be implemented into the Total War Warhammer series. In all honesty, I was hoping that we'd see Be'lakor in some sort of Albion race pack, but it's looking rather unlikely that we'll ever do so. In all honesty, I see Be'lakor being introduced in a very interesting way, let's say, where he would be a true hybrid faction between Warriors of Chaos and Demons of Chaos. It could be that Be'lakor works generically as a Demons of Chaos faction. However, there could be some implementation, such as vassalizing some Norsca or Chaos Warrior factions, which will then allow him to recruit some Warriors of Chaos. It makes sense lore-wise for Be'lakor to have both factions under his boot, even if there are some restrictions for one or the other. I see this character being implemented in the form of a DLC. I don't know, I just don't see him being a mainstay character for a Demons of Chaos faction if Demons of Chaos are one of the core races for Total War Warhammer 3. It would be interesting to see him possibly against the High Elves in a cross-game DLC, possibly also trying to get to the Vortex in an effort to permanently stay in the Warhammer world and not be forced back into the Realms of Chaos. Yes, it's kind of recycling an idea, but it could be done in a different way. But what do you think about the Demon Prince of Undivided? Do you think he'll be a character in the Total War Warhammer series, or do you think he'll serve as some sort of narrator or antagonist which is off-screen? And what mechanics, if you do believe that he will be playable, do you think he would have? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.